Here it comes. Everybody, my buddy.
Martinsville Speedway. 80 degrees yesterday.
Here it comes.
Everybody, my
60 tomorrow. Oh, and 81 on Monday. What is Mother Nature doing to us?
Here it comes.
As we come to the
Here it comes.
The shortest track on the NASCAR Cup circuit at just over half a mile, where they've raced since 1947.
Look.
More
Look.
history here than you can count. And some of it's going to have to come into play because at least one team who traditionally has been very, very good here needs to step up, and this is the place. Hi, everybody. Mike Joy, Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer with you once again. And this is a test. We're at a short track. It's the next to last race in the chase. So this Sunday is going to be totally important for anybody who hopes to win this championship.
Yeah, and I think like you said, it's a really important race for Hendrick Motorsports to be able to try to put themselves back in a position with how dominant they have been at this racetrack for the most part of as long as we've raced. And I think it's an important racetrack to understand that. We've got more horsepower here again, so a little bit of a change on that side of things. So a lot of stories to be told during this practice session.
Well, if they're trying to get back up on the horse, so to speak, like you're saying, who are they trying to knock off? That is, these Toyotas are on fire. All season long, they've started off like gangbusters and haven't slowed down any. I think they're going to be good again this weekend. Fast cars go fast, Kevin. We always talk about that. But make no mistake about it, Rick Hendrick and company own this racetrack. They have won here more than anybody. But I think that the Toyotas can keep an eye on them and keep them honest here. But the other one that I'm got my eye on is Ryan Blaney for sure.
All right, that'll give you something to look at as we roll into the first part of practice. Hendrick Motorsports winless in the first 6 races for the first time in nearly a decade. And look where their full-time drivers are in the standings coming in here. Martinsville is where Hendrick won their very first race with Jeff Bodine. It's where Jeff Gordon got his final Cup Series victory, and a whole lot of history in between.
And it's not a disaster by any means from a point standpoint. It's just the expectation of Hendrick Motorsports are so high. And what makes it harder, Clint, being in this first practice group, because
right.
In that typically doesn't put you in a good position from a qualifying perspective where you go out.
Case in point, why is he in this practice group? Because things aren't going very good for Kyle Larson in 5 car. If you're in the first group of practice, last week wasn't so good for you. We all know you want to be in that second group. The track cleans up, the rubber gets put down. A lot of things are learned in this first one for these organizations that they put forth for the second one. Kyle Larson's a guinea pig for Hendrick Motorsports this time around. Jamie?
Well, William Byron has found his way around this place 3 times. He drove to victory, including in the fall when you just whooped up on this field, 1 from the pole. So this time around, William, things are a little bit different, that short track package. So what kind of questions are you looking for to be answered in your practice session?
Yeah, I think just trying to figure out if anything's different really with the higher horsepower. Our balance should be really similar here to last fall, so not really concerned about that. If we have a certain balance in practice, we're going to try to kind of stick to that. So hopefully the balance is similar to what we expect, and we can just kind of go from there.
When you're standing here and you have that headset on, who and what are you listening for before you get in your car?
Yeah, I mean, it's helpful to have Kyle in Group A. Obviously, they're in that group because of last week, but it helps us with the notes. So really trying to watch him in this practice and kind of understand what he's fighting. And the track looks really white right now, so just trying to get some rubber down.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Over to Larry Mack.
Well, Jamie, these teams get so little bit of practice. You want to be out there anytime the track is open. Clint Boyer touched on it. You have to be careful at the beginning because there's no rubber on those concrete corners right now that'll give you a false reason. It's the reason that Joey Logano, Paul Wolf, and the 22 car who's in this first group, they've elected to wait about 5 minutes to maybe those concrete corners start taking rubber. But as fast as lap times are here, you get out there, you can maybe make about a 60-lap run, which is important. That's about a half a fuel run. And guys, you know, at the history of this track, if you're going to have handling problems, they'll show up about 25 to 30 laps into a run.
Well, I think that the reason that Joey Logano is waiting is exactly what Larry is saying. They want to get it right for that long run. They want to be able to get the car so that it's in the best conditions possible with the rubber on the racetrack. And in this first session, you're putting the rubber down. So they waited a little bit trying to guess right. Hard to compare yourself against anybody else when you wait though.
So what are heavy hitters like Joey Logano and Kyle Larson doing in Group 1? Well, it's because of NASCAR's metric, the performance metric that determines the order of qualifying and which group you're in. 70% is the previous race finish. So yes, one bad finish can spoil your season. You can end up here in Group 1. 30% is the current owner points position. And of course, early in the season, those positions move around race to race a lot more than they will in the second half. So Joey Logano, Kyle Larson had a bad week last week. They're in Group 1 this week.
Kevin, watching some of these guys I was watching Austin Hill, as a matter of fact, and braking. We're talking about horsepower and things like that all across the board for anybody out here right now, especially in this first group trying to figure this. It's the same track, but the game's changed a little bit with the horsepower.
Yeah, and you know this track. You were way better here than I was, and I think that the hard characteristics of this racetrack are how far do I drive it in the corner, how fast do I roll through the corner, do I need to push my corner around to try to get that drive up off the corner so I have less distance. But the two ends are different. Turn 2, the exit of turn 2 to me was always easier than the exit of turn 4. And turn 4, the reason that is it seems like the car, especially these Gen 7 cars, they want to start hopping when they want to slide at the 3/4 mark, and then when they slide, they start to hop. So definitely some characteristics differences from turn 2 to turn 4.
Josh Berry, you saw him just jump up to 4th on the board. Now, unlike last week at Darlington, lap 1 and lap 2 are not going to be your fastest laps. You work up to it. Right now, fastest laps, drivers range from their 4th lap on to their 11th.
Left front wheel lock up, easy to do here, and that goes right into what I was asking you about with brakes. You know, trying to find your rhythm, your mark, so to speak, at this racetrack. How far you can get in the corner. Too far for Noah. That was a big lockup.
And once they lock up here, it takes forever to get it to quit locking up. So you see Josh Berry, you're going to see that curb on the inside of the racetrack right there, he and Kyle Busch. Some different ideas of what you should do or shouldn't do with wrapping that curb. Do you diamond the corner? I think some of it depends on how your car is handling. I think some of it depends on what is happening with the race car. So we're going to see that lockup right here with Noah. And a lot of times that happens when you go over the